Hey YouTube guys, this is Tychonders doing another action figure reviews, and this time I am doing a review for something that just arrived in the post a couple of days ago. Unfortunately the box is a little bit crushed because I kind of ripped it open, but it is Skeletor, Evil Lord of Destruction, from the new 2020 Masters of the Universe Origins line. So let me just hand down a second. As you can see, I have him seated in the vintage Roton, and he does sort of fit. I did modify my Roton to fit the classics figures, so I just pop him out without him snapping it. I just flip it around. I did slice out a chunk of it so I could fit the classics figures legs in, so I could have them fitting in it, but he seems to fit the vintage Roton quite nicely. So before I get onto the figure and all his accessories, yes, he can wait a few seconds while I just go on about the packaging. So with all this first wave, you get the same Beast Barrage comic book. Has an image of all the figures in the first wave for the single cards, and then it's a couple of panels. But as far as I'm aware, you get the same one in every figure. Now, again, just before I proceed with the video, just a disclaimer that these reviews are intended for collectors over the age of 13 plus. But this is from Mattel, and as you can see, the packaging is done exactly as the old vintage ones. The other reason why it's a little bit warped is it didn't arrive that way. It's just everything that I've been getting, I kind of spraying down with a sanitizer, and the cardboard kind of soaked in the sanitizer, so it did warp it a bit. So the new for 2020, these are exclusive to Walmart at the moment. I think they're supposed to be coming to other places afterwards. So you have a look at the other figures. Twist into powerful battle positions, fit Havoc staff into hand. You got He-Man, Teela, Man-at-Arms for the good guys, Skeletor, Evelyn, and Beastman. And then there's a really cool artwork of Skeletor standing over what looks like a lava pit and screaming maniacally. So, and it says, the nefarious overlord Skeletor once controlled the power within Castle Grayskull. Which you can do so because I'm reviewing this figure with Castle Grayskull behind him. So, just to get my tape measure in, he stands just a little over, nearly 6 inches, just a little over the 5.5 inch mark, and that's with his legs extended all the way out. But what you can do, you can bend these legs down and give him more classic squat pose like the vintage figures, and that brings him back down to the kind of 5.25 inch mark. He's pretty articulated. Just move my light source, bear with me a moment. And get my hands in. He's fairly articulated. Now these guys use the same basic buck as these new Masters of the WWE Universe figures. This is the Skull King version of Triple H, who I've removed the armor from because, well, I gave you the other version, the Terra Claws version, which is a far nicer looking version of him. But if you have the accessories, they should be able to wield their accessories just as much. Fortunately, the hammer is fairly heavy. But if you have John Cena's clear axe, you can hold that pretty nicely. Not too sure about the this because of the way the hand or the wrist is done. Skeletor's wrist has these indents, or the kind of, you know, the, what would you call them, the kind of extra pieces. He doesn't have like a flat elbow to wrist, so, or forearm. It has sculpting on it, kind of similar to his classic look. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any vintage Mattel figures. I do, however, have a classics Skeletor, which I will bring in momentarily, and I have a specific version of the classics one, just for a reference. So here is the Terror Claws Skeletor, and I was hoping that I could swap these, which are the Terror Claws that came with the Triple H, onto this figure, but unfortunately, because of the way the arms are done, and if I just snap these ones off one of the hands, so a lot of reviewers are saying that these Terror Claw parts are identical to the classics. They are and they aren't. The main sculpting is, but if you flip them around, and I'm not sure if you can see this on camera, the clips for the, that you connect the ones to the Master or the WWE Universe guys, actually are a thicker clip than the one that's on the classics, which means the wrists are slightly smaller on the new figures, so it doesn't give the exact same diameter. So, and because of Skeletor's additional pieces on his forearms, you can't get them on. You can just about get the ones from the classic onto him. So if you have the classics version of Terror Claws, you can do it to a degree. And instead of clipping up here further back on the forearm, they just clip just here where the wrists are. So you have to have the wrist in a certain direction before it will go on, and they are loose at times. So, as I said, you can sort of do it, but if you don't want to stress the peg or the clips, I wouldn't recommend leaving them on. I do leave them on this guy, but other than that. So articulation wise, he's the same as the other guys. So he has a ball joint, he has a joint at the shoulder and go all the way around. You can actually pop the arm off at the shoulder because of the gimmick with these. I don't have any of the Masters of the Universe ones yet, but they're intended that you can swap parts between the two lines. So for the WWE Universe and the Masters of the Universe lines, you can mix and match parts. On most figures, there is certain figures that you probably wouldn't, like, depending on the sculpt, you won't be able to swap. One of the figures that come to mind is the one for the Wave Tree, which is the wrestling Wave Tree, which is the New Day, because the body and head are all one part. Well, the body and head are all kind of connected. They don't have, he doesn't have the same headpiece as the others. But the rest of articulation, waist swivel. He has a soft plastic battle armor that you can unhook. It has clips here, 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 and here. Or sorry, that's the one for the belt. The belt is a separate piece. So if you don't want to unstretch or stress these out when you're clipping them, you can easily just pop the arms off either side and just unclip that and then slip it over. Legs have a forward and back, not great, but still good. Can go out, kick out that much. Has a single jointed knee, swivel at the boot and swivel in the knee. And Skeletor has tiny, 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 tiny feet for some reason. If you just bring in these guys, you can see how small his feet are compared to the wrestling ones. His feet go to about the same length, but the overall size is smaller so he has quite a small kind of small area to kind of keep him standing, so he might be prone to falling over quite a bit, but so far I haven't had any issues with mine. And for accessories, he does have his iconic Havoc staff, and he also has one half of the power sword. Now, I was hoping you'd get maybe one half the power sword like the vintage figure, and maybe a full complete power sword. It's just it looks a bit weak when you're have it on certain pictures, but he holds the Havoc staff quite nicely in his right hand. He can hold the power sword in the right as well. You can get into his hand. It just looks a bit funny if you look at it from certain angles, but you can also get it to hold in the left, and there is a little trick to it. So you have to kind of slightly wedge it by the thumb on the top of the guard, so you can hold both weapons, and it doesn't look too bad holding both weapons. Paint applications are quite nice. I really like how the skull is done. I do hope we might get a closed mouth version of him at some point as well. Kind of more iconic, or more how the vintage one looks. But he looks pretty cool with the slightly open screaming mouth as well. And just for, as you saw at the start, he can fit vintage Masters of the Universe vehicles. So if I just move some of my stuff out of the way and bring in one of the slightly later ones, he does fit quite nicely. You just have to manipulate the legs just enough. Just move his hand out of the way. He does fit the land shark quite nicely, and you can get him to hold onto the control panel. So we just bring back my camera a bit smidge so you can see it. So he does fit into that quite nicely. We can do the land shark gnawing option. You can actually get him to look like he's pressing controls on the control panel as well, because of the way the articulation on his hands. You can also get him, have it here at the side. I'm not sure if I can get it in without knocking over my camera. You can actually ride the turbodactyl quite nicely. You can also be captured by the turbodactyl quite nicely until it drops him, if it wants to drop him. And if you want him to have control over, just clip his harness back on. That's the one thing I found about this guy. His harness tends to pop loose, but it's just a matter of clipping it back over the right way. And if I just get him in the right position, bear with me a moment. If you want him being in control of Castle Grayskull, you can have him sitting on the throne. And just because it works on this version, and I have him here, I don't actually have He-Man, but I have another powerful Master Universe style figure, so you can have him turn to He-Man and drop him down the trapdoor. So there you go, guys. That's a quick video review. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video review of the Masters of the Universe Origins Skeletor. Oh, he does have 2 peg holes on the bottom of his feet as well, just in case you need get him to stand. And it does look like he will plug into the Fortnite stands pretty nicely. Oh, also, if you have some of the vintage weapons, you should be able to hold them quite nicely as well. So here he is with the blaster from the Castle Grayskull. So overall, a really cool figure. I do recommend picking them up. I do have the entire wave pre-ordered so far for here in Ireland. There's a store called Dublin City Comics that are getting them in, and if you contact them, I'll put a link in the description below for anyone in Ireland who's wanting to pick these up. They might be able to get extra sets, but they have the whole wave 1 coming in, which consists of Skeletor, He-Man, all the figures I mentioned in this video, along with Adam and the Sky Sled, which is essentially this thing, the front half of the battle ram, and Battle Cat is the other figure in that wave. And just so I have them together, here he is with the Skull King. The custom, well, I wouldn't say custom, it's just basically a kit bash of the two Triple H WWE figures. So it's the Terror Claws one and just the gear off the Skull King version. There he is with them, and I'll just bring in John Cena as well, and there you go. Overall, great figure line. Totally harkens back to the original classics, or the vintage Masters of the Universe, and it kind of improves upon it with the added articulation. That was the one thing I was never happy with the old ones, that like they had no elbow joints or knee joints or anything like that, whereas figures like G.I. Joe could have, you know, sit in vehicles better, whereas these guys now will be able to do so. And it does, so far they do tend to work quite nicely with some of the vintage stuff, so you have an added bonus with that as well. So there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed this quick video review of the Skeletor figure. And as I say in my videos, please feel free to like, comment and subscribe to my channel. Cheers, guys.